In this lesson, we are going to talk about how to upload a listing onto Nestio. And keep in mind, Nestio is one of the current RLS vendors we use. It's essentially a software system we'll use to be able to upload a listing to the RLS, and many popular websites such as StreetEasy, Zillow, Trulia, Homes.com, Realtor.com, the New York Times, and such. So it's a place where you can edit and upload a listing all in one place. You can make changes to it later, and it will automatically reflect the changes on hundreds of different websites as well as the RLS. So the first step is to gather information about the property from the seller. Sometimes you can get a seller to submit listing information to you directly, perhaps through our website in this example, where they can actually submit their listing details. So in this example, we have some basic information already about the property. Some of the most important items are going to be real estate taxes and common charges, which you cannot upload a listing without. So first things first, we want to go on to Nestio. Now we are on Nestio. You would take a look at the company listings tab first to see if the building itself has already been uploaded. If it hasn't been uploaded, you will need to hit add building and then enter some basic information. So if you take a look, this building is 516 West 47th Street. So do a quick Control F in this company buildings page to see if somebody else has already created a listing before with that building. $516. Gotta be careful. So you're in luck. This building has already been created for you, but let's take a look through it and for next time in case it hasn't been created. If it hasn't been created, you'll obviously need to fill out a few key pieces of information which are actually marked by an asterisk, meaning it's required. So obviously you'll need the building number, you'll need the street name, try to be as complete as possible, and then obviously the borough, you'll want Manhattan, Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, etc. New York, the zip code, those are all required. You'll go down. Pet policy is often required, as well as elevator or building type. So the best way to, if you're completely starting from scratch, is to actually look on a popular website such as StreetEasy to see what StreetEasy is saying about the building. So taking a look at the StreetEasy page, you'll see some critical information that you'll need to be able to complete this. Full-time doorman, elevator, cats and dogs allowed. So you go down here and you can select elevator, which makes it quite easy because some of these other options oftentimes don't make sense. I'd say the most frequently used ones are either elevator or walk-up if you know it doesn't have a walk, if it doesn't have an elevator. Or perhaps a townhouse or a detached or attached house if you're selling freestanding property. This is obviously a required field as well. Condo, co-op, pretty self-explanatory. Total units you can actually find on the StreetEasy building page. They're usually pretty accurate, 149, so you've entered it here. For tax on lot, you can put 0. That is what frequently is done because this doesn't actually make sense when you are listing a specific condo property because it has its own tax and lot number versus a co-op which only have this number for the entire building. So anyway, to keep it short, you can put this as 0. For this, you want to select elevator since it has an elevator, and just select any of the features that you'll see on here. So for example, gym, live-in super, bike room, okay. You've selected those. And then the full-time doorman, since they've given you that information, you might as well do it. Live-in super. Parking, air conditioning, not required if you don't have any information on it. Pet policy, you should. Cats and dogs allowed, so put pets allowed. And then you are good to go. The last thing is for the building, make sure that the street address is a standard format. I mean, try not to say, W47th Street or some variation thereof. Just try to write it out in a complete manner. You'll often see it here as well. 516 West 47th Street, so you want to be complete. After you're done, hit save, and the building is saved. The next step is to, after you've added the building, is to add the unit itself. So we'll make a hypothetical listing, 516 West 47th Street. So you've already entered the building and it should pop up, and it does. And let's make up a random unit. Let's say unit 1, unit 6H. Exclusive. Sales listings always have to be exclusive. They're the only ones allowed for sales. You can't have an open sales listing. For sale, of course. Next. Now, you will want to again specify for sale. It is residential. Again, it was a condo, and the exclusive type that you don't even need to worry about. These two fields you do not need to worry about. And then the unit 6H. And again, you'll see the ones with asterisks are the ones you absolutely need to fill out. So, this one, again, you should have some basic information about the property. So this one doesn't specify, but this is assuming you've already met the seller, you've seen the place perhaps, so you know what it is. So let's just assume that you saw the studio. It's obviously a studio. It's a 1 bathroom. Let's keep it simple. Or you know what? Let's assume you've seen a junior 4. So it's 1 bed, 1 bath, 4 rooms. And again, this is important to get right. The number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms. Total rooms can be a bit subjective. It is important to put a number there. Just try to count the total number of rooms available. Square feet, it's nice to have if there is a number. You should try to verify it with the seller. Again, not a mandatory field, especially for co-ops, but for condos, it's pretty easy to find the right number. Price, this is something that's obviously discussed beforehand with the seller, so you should know what listing price the seller wants. Let's say it's $1 million. You don't want commas or anything here because Nestio will not accept it if there's a comma. Date available, doesn't really matter. It should just be the day of today's listing. Because this is a condo, it will have common charges and monthly taxes. If it's a co-op, the real estate taxes are rolled in with the common charges equivalent, and it's all in one number called the maintenance. So if it was a co-op, let's just say it would be 700, or let's just say it would be 1500, and it would be 0. That's what you would enter. But because this is a condo, let's just assume it's 750, 750. Commission structure. This is a very important number to pay attention to. We are contractually liable for this commission split, so you want to make sure it's exactly the number that is in the listing agreement that we are offering to pay to co-brokers. In other words, to buyer's agents or other brokers representing buyers. This is not the total commission number. This is just what we are offering to pay other brokers. So for example, in a 6% commission listing, if it's split 50-50, we would put 3% here because we are offering half to the to the real estate community. So you want to make sure this number is correct. It's the amount we are offering to other brokers. Tax deduction, you don't have to put it for now. It wasn't in that information sheet we looked at, but this tax deduction is an important number to figure out at some point. It essentially is the percent of monthly maintenance that is tax deductible. So, most co-ops will have like a 50% number. But because this is a condo, it's actually not applicable. So you can always put NA here. For the flip tax, let's just put NA. It's very uncommon for a condo to have. Max financing, again, usually it's more co-ops buildings will allow a certain amount of max financing when a purchaser buys. Maybe it's 80%, 75%, 90%, whatever it is. For condos, less likely to have rules. So you don't have to fill this out either, just put NA. For number of shares, 0, because that's only for co-ops. So only co-ops will have a number of shares. This is a condo, so they will have this. Now this is a number that the seller will know, not you. If you don't have it handy, just put 0 for now. We can come back to it. Unit condition. This is somewhat subjective. Open view. Again, this is pretty straightforward. Either it's a clear view, and there's a building in front of it is obstructed. There's a building maybe covering half the view, partially obstructed. Unit exposure. Quite easy to find out because at this stage you should have the professional photographs and floor plan ready to go. The floor plan has a compass on there showing you the directions as well as the locations of the windows. So just by looking at the compass on the floor plan and the direction of the windows, you'll be able to tell the unit exposure, which is essentially which direction do the windows face. It's assumed it's a great southern view. These are pretty self-explanatory. Dishwasher, microwave, pretty common. Does it have hardwood floors? Again, different from parquet floors, which are the little squares and very 80s or 70s retro style. Does it have an outdoor terrace, private terrace? Is there exposed brick? Is there a washer machine in the unit? Is it recently renovated? Right? These are all different features. This is the listing description you should craft and put in here. Please take a look at what other listing agents have written about similar units in the building, about the building itself. Please, very important, do not plagiarize. You got to write your own description, otherwise it'll be caught by other agents and they'll cause a ruckus very quickly. So you should have very standard 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph should be the longer one, should be about the unit itself, and then it's normal to have a second paragraph about the building. And then let's keep going down. Instruction details, this is a mandatory field, but you can just say, please call to email, or write, please email both agents, or please call Vivian or Scott, whoever it is, please email Scott at this number, or call this for emergencies, whatever it is, or please email, occupancy status, pretty straightforward. You can say it's vacant, is there occupied, just say please email schedule. Okay. Open house, you can do this later if you want, once you've confirmed with the seller. You also sometimes need to check if the building has open house rules. Perhaps they don't allow general open houses, they only allow open houses by appointment, or maybe they have special rules around needing 2 agents at an open house, or perhaps you need permission before posting open house. You should check with the seller first before posting one. Of course, make sure that we can actually host one at that time. Include listing in RLS, super important. Revenue Universal Code Broke, that is the listing agreement. That is the agreement. Syndicate listing to StreetEasy, very important. Make sure you put myself on there, put your name, let's say Amanda is on this one. And then you upload your photos, you upload your floor plan, and then that's it. And then you hit save. And it's really that simple. Now keep in mind, when you upload the photos and the floor plan, you may need to do it twice sometimes, because if some of the photos are too large, you may need to actually decrease their size from under 10 megabytes. That will be pretty rare from the professional photos that we get, but just keep in mind, it may take a second try. But after all of that is done, you just hit save, and that's it. The listing will then begin syndicating to the RLS, lots of websites such as StreetEasy, New York Times, etc. at the same time. I highly recommend just going through this and double checking that you have everything correct. And then you want to check on a site like, for example, StreetEasy or New York Times a few hours later, just to make sure that it shows up correctly. And oftentimes the photos, they'll come a few at a time when it's first hitting the site, so just be patient. And that's really it. Thank you so much.